Hey, Richard Bryce here, Tennis Hacker. In this video, I want to explain the real reason that you keep hitting the ball late. So this is the real reason that you're struggling with your timing and you're not able to meet the ball out in front on a consistent basis. I hope you find this video helpful. If you do, it'd be awesome if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel as well. So as you probably know, timing is one of the most critical factors in developing high-level ground strokes in tennis. The difference between high-level players and lower-level players just about always comes down to timing. Unless you can meet the ball out in front in a consistent basis, both on the forehand and backhand, it just doesn't allow for optimal biomechanics, because on both sides, the biomechanics is pretty similar. We're driving from the outside leg, so if you're in an open stance, driving from the outside leg or the hip. If you're in a neutral stance, you're still driving from that outside or back leg and hip, then the torso, then the arm, and then the racket comes through. So that's how you efficiently generate racket head speed, and efficiency is the key piece for being able to hit with power and still maintaining control. It's exactly the same on the backhand side. For a single or double hander, you're still driving through that back hip from an open stance or from a neutral stance. It's the same starting mechanics: hip, torso, arm, racket comes through. And for both the forehand and for the backhand, you have to have the ability to meet the ball out in front to allow all this stuff to work efficiently. So timing really is everything. The problem is, it's also one of the hardest parts of tennis. So what I'm going to do is explain the real reason your timing isn't good enough. It doesn't come down to the precise way that you use your technique. Obviously, technique is an important factor, but if you watch the professional game, we've got all sorts of variety in terms of the way that the ball's hit, both on the forehand and the backhand. And if we kind of look back throughout history, the way that, you know, older style players, they still had amazing timing with very different techniques to what we've got now. Timing comes down to really your hand-to-eye and your foot-to-eye coordination. There's both the visual component and there's the movement component. If you struggle with timing, you keep hitting the ball late, it's because your hand-to-eye or your foot-to-eye coordination isn't good enough. Either because the visual system isn't doing what it needs to, so every shot that you ever hit is different. The ball travels at different speeds, different spins, different trajectories, different directions. You have to recognize where it's going. You have to predict the speed of the ball. You have to judge precisely how far the ball is away so you can start your swing at the right time. If you don't have the visual component, you're never going to have good timing, ever. This is just the way it works, and it's why so many players struggle to ever improve their timing. And I was one of those players for about 25 years of my life. I sorted the visual issues out, and suddenly I can hit balls in a much, much better way. So there's the visual component. Then we've got the coordination component. Once we've predicted how far the ball is away and we're starting our swing, you have to be able to use your body in the correct sequence. So driving from the foot, then the torso, in the way that I've just described. So you have to actually use the technique. Now, in order to use good technique, you have to be able to control your body. When you start to assess adult tennis players, most adult tennis players have a really poor ability to control their body. They can't control their shoulder blades, they can't control their pelvis, they can't control their spine, they can't move their neck. And when you can't control different parts of your body, it is really, really hard / pretty much impossible to make these adjustments based on the visual information that you're receiving while you're running at full speed and you're doing all these other things that are going on court. So the reason that you're still hitting the ball late, the reason that you're struggling with timing, isn't because you haven't watched enough YouTube videos or you haven't quite found the right coach. There's loads of amazing videos on YouTube, loads of fantastic coaches in the world, but they can only work with what they've got. If you can't make those visual predictions in the way that you need to, if you can't control your body, that is the real reason why you've got issues with your timing. And like I said, I'm including me with this. My timing sucked. It was the biggest thing that held me back as a tennis player. But by learning how to address these visual issues and coordination issues, I'm now a lot older than I used to be, and I'm a much, much better tennis player because I've corrected the problems. So now I'm able to time the ball well. And because of that, my game's improving dramatically. So the good news from your perspective is now you know what's going on with your timing. It's not deficiency in lessons, it's stuff that's not working in your body. There are things that you can do about it. I've created a masterclass that's going to explain this in detail. So it's going to explain about vision and coordination. So it's going to take you through a series of assessments so you can start to figure out what's going on in your body. I'll place a link down there so you can check it out. I'll place a link up there that will allow you to check it out. If you're struggling with timing, I think you're going to love it because it's going to answer a lot of questions and a lot of things that have probably kept you up at night. And I know that because I used to lie awake at night wondering why I could not hit a high forehand after 20 years of playing tennis and after being a coach for 10 years. Why couldn't I do it? Well, it turns out it was all this stuff, and that's why I make these resources for you to help you see what's going on in your body, so then you can really start to take your game to the next level. So that resource is there for you if you need it. Hopefully you have found this video helpful. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can.